All right, so I think we can go ahead and start. While we still see a lot of people slowly rolling in right now. So first of all, thank you so much everyone for joining us on this Thursday afternoon or from wherever you are in the world. My name is Ashley, and today you are in the Chainstack Get Started on the Corda Network webinar. And just before we begin, I'd like to give a little rundown of what's going to be happening in this webinar. So first and foremost, we'll have this Laurent Dedenis, who is the CEO of Chainstack, who'll be giving a brief run through of Chainstack and who we are and what we do, followed by Jona, who is our lead product manager here, who will be giving more specific details on the platform, as well as the technical demo of more of our Corda Network specific capabilities on Chainstack. So yeah, one last thing is that since this is an interactive webinar, obviously we'd love to hear any of the questions that you might have. You have all of our attention right now. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them on the chat box and we will attend to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I hope you all enjoy this webinar. Thank you. So Laurent, can you please?
Right, Ashley, thank you very much. And a warm welcome to everyone from Singapore. My name is Laurent Dedenis, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Chainstack. And I'm pleased to welcome all of you today and essentially have the opportunity to introduce to you Chainstack services, but also present to you our new service for automated Corda network onboarding. We're specifically proud of what the team has done in the past 6 months. And I can't wait to get Jona to walk you through the process that we have established and automated. Now, Chainstack is a managed blockchain services, making it simple to launch and scale decentralized nodes and network, right? So what we built is essentially an interface, extremely intuitive, extremely easy to use, that actually creates an easy path for you to come and deploy and manage and start building application all together with seamless integration, orchestration, and predictable pricing. Now, Chainstack, as I mentioned briefly, is based in Singapore. We are a 3-year-old company, and today we service hundreds of customers, both running in pre-production and production. You can actually visit chainstack.com and check how the platform has been built. And I also encourage you to read what people like Google, or better, Gartner, are telling about us. Also, I'd like to recommend that you would check our enterprise blockchain protocol research that was published in December 2019, and that will be updated in the current of 2020. This survey and this research actually established clear trends in the enterprise blockchain space by blockchain protocol, both private permission blockchain and public blockchain protocol and trends. In short, Chainstack is the most cost-effective way to deploy, manage, and scale your infrastructure. Whether you are at the POC stage or in pre-production or in production, we'd like to help you to make the process of trying, activating, and validating your use case and your application as smooth and as seamless as possible. So now, why is Corda so important? Well, we've been working with Corda for about a year, about May 2019. And we are super excited to work with their ecosystem of large ecosystem of vibrant partners and developers building solution on top of Corda. Of course, we are also interested in working with several consortiums that make this ecosystem an amazing and very dynamic group of people for us to work with. Now, we initially released support for Corda and Corda Enterprise back in October 2019 at CordaCon, so about 6 months ago. And right after that, we started working on how we could actually address onboarding into Corda Network and make it easy for the Corda community and ecosystem to basically build on top of Corda. Now, the Corda Network support was built for Corda developer and partners. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to get Jona to walk you through the platform and show you the level of best practice we have implemented and automation we have built so that we make it super easy for you to run Corda Network nodes. Jona?
All right, thank you, Laurent. I will take back control. Okay, so yeah, before I jump into a demo, I just want to give a few words first about the Corda network and what's interesting about it. So as Laurent mentioned, we've had support for Corda and Chainstack for almost a year now. And that initially entailed being able to deploy your own private network on Chainstack. And what this means is you could, very quickly and then with very little effort, have your own Corda environment with the relevant services that are required to have a Corda network running. So that is, you have an NMS, you have a doorman to manage access to this network. You have notaries so that you can notarize transactions and nodes can actually interact with each other. And you can spin this up and invite other organizations, other participants to come in with their own managed infrastructure to participate on this network. So this is a great use case, and we've seen a lot of people be very interested in this offering, particularly the ease of use and then the tools that we provided to be able to then start immediately installing Corda apps into this network and testing applications and testing the information flow around the network. But of course, as we see in the Corda industry, and if you have any familiarity with Corda, really the direction that anyone choosing to work with the protocol should be looking at or is interested in at least understanding is the Corda network, which is the public permissioned network of Corda nodes. It's a global network that's operated by the Corda Network Foundation, which is a not-for-profit independent organization with its own governing board that is responsible for managing and maintaining this network and ensuring that the services are up and running and available, that people who are onboarded onto this network are verified organizations, verified participants whose identity is known to the network, and not any actor can just come in and join and start deploying nodes. And essentially what it lets you do is, as an organization, you can come in and start participating in a global network in a controlled environment that adheres to sort of global regulations and standards, and start engaging in industry-changing DLT-based business applications that are being built by some of the network operators that are operating within the Corda network itself. And what this means is, rather than standing up your own entire consortium, you don't have to worry about network governance. You don't have to worry about maintaining this network, making sure it's available. This is all handled by the Corda Network Foundation itself. And they provide these services for identity management, for a network map service, for notary and support of the network. And so what they've produced is a really welcoming environment, I think, where organizations can start testing on the pre-production network their applications and deploy one to a number of nodes onto this network and operate with businesses and organizations around the world. So when thinking about a Corda network node, we have a traditional sort of life cycle that I'll quickly go over. And what that consists of is a few steps. The first one being to actually register and get pre-approval from the Corda Network Foundation to join. So this is going through a series of checks and legal hoops to ensure that you are who you say you are and get validation and approval from Corda Network Foundation to join the network. From that point, you go through the steps of actually configuring your node, ensuring that you have the right information on this node that says who you are and which network you're trying to join. And then we need to deploy it in a stable environment. And I say stable because this node has to be, for it to have any use and value on the network, has to be up and running in a predictable way and available to be discovered and contacted by others in the network as well, so that you may transact with other people that are participating. We need to assign appropriate resources to this node. That is what you might expect for a Corda node and the kind of traffic and storage expectations that you would be having for such a resource in the network. And what we'll do is trigger a certificate signing request, and we wait for a response from the Corda network. So what this is our node is asking the Corda Network Foundation to say, this is who I am, this is my identity. I've already requested my pre-approval from the network and been approved. And now we wait to actually retrieve the certificates that will be sent across to our node, so that once we have completed the certificate signing process, we can now reboot and we are officially joined onto the network. From this point, we can then start installing Corda apps so that we can join onto business networks. And step 6 is maybe one of the biggest things to consider, is beyond just actually getting this node up and running, we have to think about supporting it in the long term, maintaining it indefinitely, and ensuring that it's highly available for use in the network. And finally, of course, we know people aren't running just necessarily one node. If you're a business network operator who has multiple nodes that you're operating for you or your partners or your customers, or if you're a large enterprise organization who might have different nodes in different regions and locations, and for different operational units within your business, you need to repeat this process 10x across all of those nodes. And so what I'm going to show you in the demo today, and is the benefits that Chainstack is bringing to this process, is these sort of 6 items that we've highlighted. So we're providing automated node configuration and deployment so that you don't need to worry about any of these first couple steps of configuring the correct settings and infrastructure for your node to run in. Chainstack handles this all out of the box. We provide flexible hosting options so that you can choose how and where you'd like to deploy this node. And the resources that we assign to these nodes are scalable and dynamic, so that as you grow or as your application grows, your node grows with it. We've built as well a secure vault for identity management and for monitoring these identities. And this is, of course, a very core and central component to the Corda network, since your identity is your node's official way of being identified on the network, and for the network participants to know that you are who you say you are. And we also provide an interface for Corda management, an API to do this programmatically, and also an API to orchestrate your node programmatically as well, so that you can plug this into your existing applications or any sort of CI/CD pipeline, or any situation where you may want to programmatically spin up and destroy a node and have it automatically connect to the network, or automatically trigger a certificate signing request, and so on. So yeah, enough talking about that. I'd like to jump into the demo now. And what I'm going to do is quickly show how we can deploy a Corda test network, which is this functionality that we've had previously in the platform. But the main points I want to cover is how we can add a Corda network identity to our vault. And this will encompass the certificate signing request and a way to monitor and manage our identities. And then we'll use these identities to install a node to the Corda network, all on this call. And finally, we'll have a look at what it looks like to install Corda apps on a Chainstack node. So here we are in the Chainstack dashboard, what you might see if you sign up for an account today. Our projects are split into consortium and public chain projects, meaning either for a consortium project, you're creating your own network, you're building your own consortium and controlling the members that are participating in that consortium. And on public chain, you're managing nodes that you join onto other existing public chains. So if you've been following along, you might have guessed that the consortium project is where we would create our own Corda network, and the public chain project is where we would join our nodes onto an existing one. So if we just take a look quickly in here, I've got a testnet that I've spun up myself. I can manage the members of this project, and just with an email, I can invite other organizations to come and deploy their nodes into this environment. And this is sort of how we would manage this as a doorman, if you would, in Corda terminology. We have a couple of nodes that are running in here already. We can add one very easily, give it a name, choose where to host it. In this case, we'll put it in the US in AWS. And just like that, we're spinning up a node and adding it to the network. If we look at our other node in here, we have some information about how to connect to it and its identity on the network. And we can come in and manage the Corda apps that are installed and easily add more just by dragging and dropping our jar files onto this node. So before I go into my Corda network node, I obviously need to think about my identities. And this is where we built this vault, which is a feature that was released just a few weeks ago, And it's where we can, in one secure environment with all modern encryption security standards, manage different identities, which consist of the certificates that we've been issued to be able to deploy a node onto the network. If you're someone who's managing a large number of nodes and identities, this is something that we've seen to be particularly helpful for a few of our customers, where they can see all in one place the state of these applications, whether they've been rejected for some reason. In this case, it was a duplicate legal name, and so we received a rejection response in the Corda network, or whether they've been approved. If we take a look at ones that have been approved already, we allow our user full control over the files and the full visibility into the passwords for the key store that contain the certificates and so on, which means that we're not we're fully behind an open platform and portability of these certificates and identities. So at any time you may export these, delete them from Chainstack, and bring them with you to some other node if you wanted to host it in a different location. So these are my existing identities, but what I want to do now is trigger a new request to the Corda Network Foundation for them to deliver my Corda node identity to me in Chainstack. So we'll work on the pre-production network so as not to bother the production team. And we're going to create new certificates. We could also, we're working as well on being able to import existing certificates. So if you have a node that's running elsewhere already and you're tired of managing and maintaining this node, you can easily shut that node down, grab the certificates from the node itself, import them into here, and then very quickly spin up a node in Chainstack that will connect to the Corda network. But in this case, we are going to use a new identity. And I will use a legal name that we've already pre-registered, signed up with the Corda Network Foundation. We'll add it, and just like that, we now have identity in pending status. And what that means is we've triggered the request, and we could take a couple of days here for this response to be to get a response from the Corda Network Foundation, and for them to either approve or deny. And if they approve, then we'll retrieve the certificates and store them here for you to use, as I'll show you right now. So if we jump into a network that I have here, a project that I have here, sorry, we'll now want to join onto Corda and the Corda pre-production network. And now we're able to select the identity from that list that we saw previously. And so we're showing here the available ones that haven't been used already on a node and have been approved and are related to this network. So we can pick one, choose again where we're going to host this node. In this case, maybe let's put it in Singapore. And with just a few clicks, we're now joining our node onto the network, using that identity and configuring it in a way that ensures that it will be a stable, secure, and high-performing node on the Corda network, ready to participate in whatever business network or testing whatever applications you may want to. We can take a look at some other examples that I have here, and it's very similar to what you would see on our other Chainstack nodes in the private networks that I showed earlier, with the distinction that we now have an identity that's been linked to this node. And of course, we can install Cord apps and what have you onto it as well to be able to start doing some interesting application building with this node. So that's the demo. And before we finish off, I want to give a quick mention into our roadmap. So if we look at where we are today, we have Corda 4.3 on Chainstack, and we'll be upgrading our nodes to the latest version soon in an upcoming release. We can deploy private compatibility zones, as I demoed. We can orchestrate our nodes and networks through an API so that we're not limited to having to go through the Chainstack interface. We provide tools for Cord app management. We have self-healing nodes. And now today, we also support a secure vault for identity management and an ability to use this identity to deploy nodes to the Corda network. Looking beyond today, we have Node Log Viewer that's coming up in a release in just a few days or a week or so, where we're giving, as a managed service, we know developers have and people who are going to be running their nodes in Chainstack are interested in monitoring their nodes, troubleshooting issues, and having generally exposure into the behavior of this node as we are as self-service as possible. And we are exposing Node Log Viewer and also working on node and application monitoring dashboards so that we can monitor not just the resource usage of our nodes, but also see flows that are in progress, see the response times, and generally how these applications are performing on a node. We're looking at external HSM support. This is something that we've seen from our larger enterprise customers who have their own, let's say, equivalent vault, which is where they're storing their sensitive key material. And they would want to connect that into Chainstack. And this is something that we're working on so that you can bring your own vault and still use our identity management tools, but store those in a place that you have control over in your own private environments. We're looking at custom cloud deployment as well as a feature that's high on our priority right now so that you can not just deploy your nodes into the clouds that we offer, but also in your own infrastructure, wherever that may be. We're offering an application marketplace as well to provide templated applications from other Corda developers that we're in close discussions with to bring their applications to the Chainstack platform so that we can give you one-click ability to install common applications that you might be considering so that you can just in even less time than it would take today on Chainstack get started in these business networks. We're looking at Corda upgrade handling, which is something that's quite a common concern among Corda developers. Accounts management, which is also a very popular feature that we've seen a lot of people take advantage of and are interested in managing within Chainstack itself so that they don't have to go through their node interface to be able to do that. Backup and disaster recovery. And finally, just generally more features around network and node management and orchestration. So as you can see, our support for Corda is going deep, and we're in it for the long run. We've so far really enjoyed working with the Corda team and the Corda Network Foundation team and R3 itself to build a solution that really meets the requirements of the market. So that's all for the webinar today. I encourage you to go to console.chainstack.com to try it out right now. The Corda Network feature specifically is available on our business plan, which is why today we're offering $200 of credit to everyone on the webinar so that they can go and sign up and use that towards deploying a node and trying out Chainstack without having to worry about the costs or anything involved there. So you can visit this link. I think Ashley would have just put it in the chat so that it's easier for you to access. So please feel free to check that out and we will credit your account within a couple of days. Feel free also to reach out to myself or Laurent if you have any questions about what we've shown today or interested in starting a conversation about how we can work together. And then besides that, I'll be happy to open the floor for questions. So please let us know your thoughts, your feelings, or any other questions you have about our implementation and working with Chainstack. You can use the chat, I think, if you don't feel like speaking up.
Yeah, Jona, so we have a question. Do you charge based on node deployed?
Yes, yes. So we have a metered pricing for nodes, which means we charge entirely based off of usage. So if you run your node for 1 hour, you pay just for 1 hour. And if you run your node for 30 days, you pay for 30 days. So the pricing that we offer is very much variable depending on the number of nodes that you're running.
How does a license for Corda Network fit in? So in the current situation, all Corda enterprise license are purchased and negotiated directly with R3. And the only thing we do is help you to deploy these nodes on your behalf in our infrastructure.
Yeah, and then there are also fees on the Corda network that are around the notary fees, which is sort of the network usage fees. We don't touch those. So since you're registered with the Corda network itself, all billing will go through them. So we're responsible just for the infrastructure, and you are responsible for the flows that are notarized with the Corda network notary using your identity. Interfaces for changing RPC, node permissioning, and database configs. So at the moment, we don't have interfaces in the platform itself. We've been working with our customers on a one-off basis. So we have very high-touch support for our Corda customers at the moment. And we're working with them to enable any custom configuration they may have for their node to work in the way that they need for their application. But we also use all this feedback, and we have features that are in design and soon development as well that will expose these kinds of capabilities to you so that you can set that up on your node without any interaction with a Chainstack staff. Good question, thank you.
All right, one private question to me on other protocol, private permission protocol we support. So we support Corda and Corda Enterprise. We support Quorum, we support Hyperledger Fabric, and we support multi-chain. Now, one thing that I want to stress is that we also support each of these protocols since day one. We've been supporting them, we've been continuing, updating, and keeping the support for each of these protocols current. So I think what the latest version of Corda is at 4.4, Jona?
Yes.
All right, so that's also a commitment to provide continuity in the process of building up application.
Hi, this is Henry speaking. Laurent, thank you very much for the invitation. And John, a great presentation. It was very explanatory, the demo. A couple of questions. So we can deploy a node on AWS. This is AWS Chainstack own account, right?
That is correct.
Yes, that's right. Yep. So that's our instances, and we do see that we have certain customers with their own requirements for their own, deploying directly into their own accounts. AWS is one that we're working with quite closely at the moment to allow you to, let's say, bring your own infrastructure, and you can use Chainstack for the orchestration capabilities and the management and monitoring capabilities, and would then be able to deploy directly into your, all the resources into your AWS account.
Okay, cool, thanks. So in that case, it would also make easy to deploy the Corda app, the application. Because, yes. Yeah, okay. Because when you Chainstack, in the case that you own the AWS account, how would the customer be able to deploy the application?
In what sense, sorry?
No, I mean, let's say we have an application like Marco Polo or Contour. Is the deployment made also through the Chainstack platform?
I see. So of the application itself, not let's say the Corda app on the node, but yeah, understood. Yes. So at the time being, the way we've been working at the moment is that customers we've just been handling the node operations and the node hosting, and customers have been hosting the application itself on their own, and they use they immediately interface. That application will interface with their node that's being hosted on Chainstack. We are looking into more advanced hosting solutions, as I mentioned, with the marketplace, where we have more all-in-one, let's say, offering, so that with a single click we can host both the node with the relevant jar files installed for that application, and also deploy not just the Corda app, but the application itself in some web service so that you can access it and use it all in just a couple of clicks.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. I think we are reaching the end of the time we allocated for that. Everyone, I'd love to thank you very much for contributing and participating to our webinar. We run those bi-monthly on different activities and different solutions. If you have any question, as Jona mentioned, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help, and we're looking forward to showing you how Chainstack can actually help you manage and deploy deploy and manage your nodes and network on multiple blockchain protocols, including Corda. Thank you very much, guys.